Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. We are talking today about all the news. Well, not all the news, but some of the major news items over the past couple days in the world of pro wrestling and sports entertainment. We got stuff from New Japan and Pro Wrestling Noah. We got some interesting numbers for WWE and AEW, and we're heading in now to another AEW pay-per-view, and there's a lot to be talked about on the show today. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys that, of course, yes, YouTube likes its algorithm. YouTube likes. So you should likes and click the like button if you like this video. In fact, if you would like me to stop saying the word like, then click the like button. Honestly, though, it does help the YouTube algorithm let other wrestling fans know about this channel. It does help out the channel, so I appreciate it very much. But let's talk about some of the stuff. Let's talk about what happened this past week. Of course, Keiji Muto's retirement continues to have its final match and another final match and another final match. But there was the big Tokyo Dome show, a big, huge crowd on hand at the Tokyo Dome to see Keiji Muto's final match against Tetsuya Naito, which he did lose that match to Naito. And that goes, again, that's history going back to prior Wrestle Kingdoms when Naito was the Stardust Genius, took on Muto at a prior Wrestle Kingdom in the Tokyo Dome. But after that, something really awesome happened, and Masahiro Chono was called out by Muto for yet another final Muto retirement match. And man, now that was something awesome, because if you're not, and they also played up on the Three Musketeers too, because they did show a picture of Muto and Hashimoto, Shinya Hashimoto, who passed a long time ago now. It's crazy to think how long ago that was. But those guys were kind of the bedrock, the Three Musketeers, you would say, of Japanese wrestling at the time when they were coming up. And man, it was really cool to see Chono in the ring. He took the glasses off and everything. And yeah, these are older guys, but this is just a moment to celebrate the last gasp, the very last gasp of their careers. Chono gets the win with the STF. Most fans, it's amazing to me, a lot of fans didn't realize that that's his move. A lot of wrestlers use it today, but that was definitely Chono's move. It was a great thing to see. The event, which I did watch the day afterwards, was a rousing success, in my opinion, and apparently from what I've seen online from other people, both in the States and over in Japan. It is to be noted that the three big matches on the show, which were cross-promotional matches, the New Japan guys won most of those matches. Hiromu Takahashi won his match, Naito won his match, and the big one with Kiyomiya and Okada made sure that was a definitive win. He hit a Rainmaker and then picked up Kiyomiya and is like, I ain't done with you. I'm going to hit like 4 more moves on you. Then hit another Rainmaker and basically just, he basically teabagged. He almost teabagged him at the end of this thing. That was fantastic. That was a match I enjoyed the most on the night. That was a really, really fun match. Here's the thing about this show. This is probably one of the biggest gates that Noah has had, probably some of the biggest pay-per-view buys that they have had. And it is partially due to the fact that there is a cross promotion with New Japan's biggest Japanese stars. So the theory on this, that from what my perspective is that Noah's getting the pay-per-view buys, Noah's getting probably the majority of the gate at the Tokyo Dome for this show. But in exchange for that, because this is a cross promotional show, New Japan's top guys are going to go over. So that's kind of the trade-off there. Noah gets the gate, Noah gets a big portion of the money, but New Japan guys are going to go over, and there you go. So overall, I think this whole cross-promotional thing between New Japan and Noah, I've enjoyed it. Noah is the company underneath New Japan. They're kind of the AEW to to New Japan's WWE. It's not quite the same thing. But it does, I'm happy for Japanese fans to get to see that. You would never see that over here in the States. I don't think we're anywhere near having, Roman Reigns taking on MJF, at the at Texas in Texas at the Cowboy Stadium or whatever it is, AT&T Stadium. So I don't think we're getting close to that, but it was a good show. It was a fun show, and I definitely enjoyed it. Back over here in the States, there are some big numbers in the States as well. SmackDown had a huge number on Friday. I think it was close to 2.5 million, which is one of the biggest numbers they've had in a long time for SmackDown. And that, of course, was the go-home show for Elimination Chamber. It was Sami Zayn in Montreal, which was just that was just a fantastic moment. If you haven't seen my review of Elimination Chamber, you can check it in the description box or in the links above my head somewhere on YouTube. But we also had All Elite Wrestling with AEW Dynamite this past week. After a couple weeks of creatively being down and the numbers being down, I think they were, have fell below 900,000 viewers last week for the show. We're well up over 1 million viewers once again for this week's episode from Phoenix, Arizona, which was a fun episode. And even on paper, I remember looking at the card earlier in the week and going, John Moxley, Evil Uno, it's okay, But then you tune into the show, and then the show is just full of energy, partially because of the Phoenix crowd, partially because of the AEW staff, and partially because this show, as far as the structure of the show, was a lot cleaner. It flowed a lot better. It felt a lot more organized than the past couple of weeks of AEW Dynamite, and it looks like the guys and girls were giving their best performances on this show as we are heading towards AEW Revolution. A big part of that is MJF really going personal with Bryan Danielson in the lead up to their Iron Man match, and he went after Danielson's kids, and I was like, oh, here we go. And this feud has needed this. This rivalry has needed this because leading up until this point, it was kind of lukewarm. There wasn't that conflict that we expected, and MJF decided to ratchet it up this week, which was really awesome. Danielson hits him with a nasty looking elbow after the big pull apart for them outside the ring. It looked like he had knocked out MJF at one point, like legitimately, but it was all part of the thing, and MJF's pulling on his shirt and the pull apart and everything else. Really good stuff leading into the show, and now this main event has got some heat to it. A bunch of other stuff happened on the show. The Acclaimed is still over as gangbusters. They're setting up the big tag match. Some people are upset that Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett won the Battle Royal, but there's going to be a second Battle Royal for whoever is going to be in that four-way match for the tag titles. We do know that this Friday on Rampage, we will finally get the confrontation between the House of Black and the Elite. I will finally, personally for me, get to see Kenny Omega and Buddy Matthews in the ring face-to-face. They're going to probably meet at Revolution, obviously. That's going to be an exchange I'm really going to want to see. If you want to draw some ratings you want to get me to definitely watch Rampage, they probably should have booked, even though I'm really excited about Aussie Open taking on the Young Bucks this Friday, if they had booked a prelim match leading towards the trios match of Buddy Matthews or Buddy Murphy or whatever, Buddy Matthews against Kenny Omega for this Friday, oh my God, I would definitely be excited for that one. But we're going to get to see at least some of that coming up at Revolution in the trios match. We've got some guys coming back. Adam Cole came back. The big announcement from Tony Khan was actually handled by Adam Cole. Adam Cole will be returning and making his in-ring return, and maybe or maybe not, because Excalibur said we're going to have to wait to see on that, but Adam Cole said he's coming back to the ring. And we will also be seeing this new AEW All Access show, which will be featuring various stars of AEW and more of a behind-the-scenes look. So this is apparently replacing the Rhodes to the Top show, obviously with Cody Rhodes and Brandy no longer in the company. So this is kind of the replacement for that. So AEW now has a third show on network television, and I'm looking forward to it because I do like the behind-the-scenes stuff. It's something that they haven't done a lot of since Rhodes to the Top ended. And I kind of am interested in seeing more. And I think the general public needs to know these people a little bit more and see a little bit more of who these people are. Because this is the stuff that, this is stuff promotional wise that WWE has been doing for years. There's tons of things on A&E and on YouTube and various different channels and ESPN that are profiles of their characters. And if the Time Warner people are going to allow AEW to get some of that exposure for their stars, the same on TBS and TNT and maybe some of their other networks, that would definitely be helpful for the profile of AEW. Which brings me to a little bit of a commentary thing here now, and it is about the craziness that's going on online wrestling media. So because of the whole thing, and Tony Khan is kind of partially to blame on this for himself of getting involved with that thing with Ariel Helwani and that whole beef that they've had, which I pointed out is nothing compared to some of the stuff Vince McMahon did. And not even that long ago, when Vince McMahon was talking to journalists and slapping things out of their hands.
They wrestled for you. They were part of your organization. They worked a couple of hundred nights a year for you. They lived this lifestyle.
Oh my God, you can't believe. Oh, can you see that look? I mean, oh, how can you possibly say that?
And of course, there's the infamous Bob Costas interview that Vince McMahon had, again, during the Attitude Era and Rock and Wrestling Era, and lots of other stuff that Vince has done, which is way worse than whatever's going on with Tony Khan and Ariel Helwani. But it did spark a lot of the anti-AEW people and they're basically trolls, to come out and mocking them. Here's the thing. Here's a couple things about that. I am starting to call social media psycho media because, and there actually was a study that they did recently that showed that a lot of people who spend a lot of time trolling like this on social media also happen to score very highly in traits that are associated with sociopathy, psychopathy, narcissism, sadism. If their response is to start calling you names and yelling at you for like out of the blue because you basically factually proved that whatever dunking they were trying to do was actually not accurate, you probably want to stay away from those people. They're probably not mentally well. And we all know this because we all see it online all the time. It happens all the time. It's why a lot of people are starting to inch away from a lot of posting on social media. And I do think that social media eventually is going to become a thing it's going to become psycho media. It's going to become known as the place where crazy people go to yell at the sun. So that's essentially what it is. The other thing about it too is that as far as the wrestling community is concerned, we just had a week where AEW got a big increase in the ratings. Lots of people are viewing it. According to one of the presidents or executives in Time Warner, they were talking about how in total, if you look at all the numbers, AEW Dynamite on Wednesdays is drawing somewhere around 4 million people. Now, I'm not sure where he's getting that number from, if he's talking about DVR and international viewership. The wrestling audience worldwide is pretty big, and these companies are doing some good work and pulling in a lot of viewership. And with AEW hitting back above 1 million viewers, with WWE hitting 2.5 plus million for SmackDown and them setting big records, the crowd that AEW had in Phoenix was a big solid crowd for the first time in a couple of weeks. This should make you as a wrestling fan happy. There were a lot more people watching wrestling, period, over the past 7 days than have been in quite some time. But again, that shows you the difference between a wrestling fan and somebody who is a troll. I call them anti-WWE and anti-AEW people. They're not fans. You notice I'm not calling them fans because they're not fans. They don't care about wrestling. They care about, attaching their identity to some company and then dunking on the enemy for it. And it's like, I've said this, you guys know this, I've said this for a lot of years. The wrestling industry is not served by this stuff. This kind of stuff is the part of the stuff that turns a lot of people who aren't in it off to talking about wrestling online. It turns them off to sharing things about wrestling. Like if you're like a new AEW fan or a new WWE fan and you're like excited about it and you're sharing stuff on social media and then you're bombarded with some anti-AEW or anti-WWE people who just can't help but find your tweet and your post and start writing, trolling shit in your post, why would you want to continue to talk about wrestling online? So again, I always say, I'm happy. I want AEW to do good. I want WWE to do good. I want New Japan to do good. I want MLW to do good. Impact, Ring of Honor, all of them. The more people watching, the better these things are. It's great. And I don't care if, and yeah, Ariel Helwani and Tony Khan can get in arguments. Mike Tyson can sit with The Undertaker and kind of low-key piss all over piss on Tony Khan. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Tyson was on he has his podcast and he had The Undertaker on there and he said to the Taker,
Tony Khan and those guys, yeah, these guys want to put me on the show and stuff before, but I don't care if they got more money. If Vince put me on the show, I'd rather go there even though they pay more money.
No, I don't blame you there. It's going to get much more play.
Love The Undertaker, but for valid reasons, The Undertaker he's a show for it's his company, you know. Of course, he's gonna. The WWE is in a lot of ways as much the Undertaker's baby as not as much as it is Vince, but he's kind of up there as far as, you know, ownership of WWE. He's responsible for a lot of the success of WWE. It kind of is his company, so of course he's going to take that. I'm not going to hold that against Taker, but you know, that kind of thing. Well, number one, I don't think Mike Tyson has to worry about Tony Khan paying him anything anymore to be on AEW TV, and if Tony Khan does, no, you shouldn't do that. But yeah, maybe Mike now can go to WWE and wrestle a match in WWE. Good for him, you know. But this kind of stuff is just, it doesn't help the wrestling industry. And I would like to see less of this. I think there is a day coming, though, because it's not just in wrestling. And outside of the wrestling world, there's a lot of stuff going on now. I am starting to see in a lot of different avenues people kind of getting tired of this shit. Myself, as I've been tired of it for the last 5 years. And I think there's some momentum behind that. We're going to have to see over the next couple of years. But I just thought that was an interesting thing. The amount of shit that's been talked about AEW, who has been going through a low period over the last couple of months, but every wrestling company has. WCW went through it. World Class went through it. Now, you know, WWE, let's be honest, they had years where most of the fans thought their creative, even the ones who watched every week, thought the creative was lagging. Not for 3 months, for years. New Japan, you know, just recently came out of the pandemic era. Of course, New Japan famously had much of the 2000s that they were in a down period. I mean, we're talking about years. So AEW having 3 or 4 months where it wasn't overwhelmingly exciting all the time is not really hurt. I think us as fans, again, I'm talking about fans, actual fans, wrestling fans, AEW fans, I think we can afford AEW some leeway that they're going to have these stretches where the show is not amazing or it's just kind of mediocre. The question is, can they come out of it? Because if they can't come out of it, then that's a problem. If it goes on for too long and they start really losing a lot of viewership, if like AEW Dynamite starts having 400,000, 500,000 viewers instead of hovering around the million range, then there's a problem. But so far, so good as far as them bouncing back. They definitely bounced back this week with a great Dynamite, and it looks like they've set up a really awesome Rampage for this week, which we'll see Lance Archer make his return to AEW as well. So I want to know what you guys think about some of these stories. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. And until next time, I will see you guys here for more news, rumors, and commentary on the Rant and Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.